Okay, so today we're going to talk a little bit about fats and oils as a topic. This chapter links quite naturally with lipids. So when I might a few times during the presentation refer you back to your lipids notes or talk about things that might have been done in more detail during your lipids notes. So it might be a good idea to have them handy and have them near you so that you can be looking at them and compare the two as we go along. Very straightforward topic most of the time, rarely comes up on its own, definitely more of a short question than a long question, but we're going to go through that today and see how we get on. So now we're going to talk about classification of fats and oils. So when you classify anything, this means to put it into groups. And in this case, when we talk about fats and oils, there's three groups we can put them into. So animals, plant or marine. So marine obviously usually comes from the sea. So we're talking about fish, and in particular usually oily fish or the livers of a whitefish. So when we talk about animal fats, they're usually saturated, which means they're quite firm in texture. So you're talking about your butters, your lards, things like that. Saturated then usually means as well that they're not good for our heart health, so need to be minimized in the diet. Plant oils then are ones that come in more of a liquid form, so usually soft or liquid at room temperature. So you can talk about any amount of oils here, so like vegetable oils, olive oil, sunflower, rapeseed, loads of different things we can speak about there. And last then, as I said a moment ago, the marine oils, which are the polyunsaturated. So these are really, really good for our heart health and ones we should definitely try to be including as most as we can in our diet. So the ones there that I've given you, are cod liver oil, herring liver oil, so any liver oil or just an oily fish like salmon or tuna would also be really good there. So next we're going to look at the nutritional value. So when we talk about the nutritional value of any food commodity, we always talk about the 5 nutrients. So protein, fats, carbohydrates, vitamins, minerals, and also the water content of the food. So when you talk about fats and oils, naturally they're going to be quite high in the nutrient fat because they are a fat. That doesn't mean they don't have any minerals or vitamins in them. As we know, fat soluble vitamins are ones that will give us are only found in fat based foods. So you will have your vitamins A, D, E, and K in fats and oils also. We also should remember looking back at vitamin A and E are antioxidants, and this prevents oxidation, which is really important in fat-based foods because they tend to have either your oxidative rancidity or your hydrolytic rancidity. So those water-soluble vitamins naturally combat against that process. So you can have a look through there yourself and have a read through, but make sure whenever you get asked a question on this, you refer to all of 5 of the nutrients. Next, we're going to talk about the dietetic value of fats and oils. So this is the value of them in the diet. So why do you bother including them? Now this is a topic that a lot of students struggle with as to why you would include fats and oils, because naturally we quite are accustomed to thinking I mustn't eat this much fat or I mustn't eat too much oil in my diet. They are still really, really important, and they do definitely have a very important biological function. They're there for a reason, and it's important that you realize that as well. So as you can see, you can have a look through those there. The main ones that are the ones that I naturally always think of is the source of the fat soluble vitamins A, D, E, and K, provides the body with the heat and energy source, and also to provide the essential amino acids. So your linolenic acid, your linoleic acid, and your arachidonic acid. So those can be naturally ones you can come to yourself, or you can pick whatever ones you like. I would recommend you know 3 of these. I've included a video here of the manufacturing of vegetable oil for you to have a look through. This will go through all 7 steps of how vegetable oil is made in industry and give you a better idea of the process that it undergoes. I've included a video here of the manufacturing of margarine. This goes through the steps 1 to 7 of how margarine is made in industry and will give you a better visual idea of how margarine is made. There are 2 main different types of margarine, block margarine and soft margarine. Block margarine, as described, is usually found in a block shape and is made mainly from vegetable oil, but can also include a mixture of marine and animal oils. It's generally wrapped in a wax or paper foil and is very high and has a very high saturated fat content, and is used for baking and frying. Soft margarine, on the other hand, has a much softer texture and is usually stored in plastic containers or tubs. It still has a high saturated fat content, but is less than the block margarine, which makes it more placid and spreadable. It has very similar uses for baking and frying also. There are two types of dairy spreads we need to look at in this chapter: low-fat dairy spreads and functional dairy spreads. Low-fat dairy spreads have around half the fat of butter and margarine, which means that not only have they a lower fat content, but they also have a lower calorie content. This makes them ideal for people who are trying to lose weight, or on a calorie-controlled diet, or trying to reduce their overall blood cholesterol. Functional dairy spreads, then, we would have heard about when we did the food processing chapter. Remember, a functional food is a food that has an additional function beyond its nutritive value. In this case, functional dairy spreads usually lower blood cholesterol. You may remember the terms plant sterols and plant stanols, and these help to lower the overall blood cholesterol levels. The guidelines for storing fats and oils are quite different to other foods. They don't necessarily have to be always stored in a fridge or a press. It really depends on the particular food and the storage instructions for that fat or oil. Butter, for example, is recommended you keep it in the fridge, whereas oils are recommended to be kept in a dark cupboard. So it's important to look at the instructions and on the food label as to where you should keep the fats and oils. I recommend that you know 3 of these guidelines for storing fats and oils. Culinary uses of fats and oils. The culinary uses of fats and oils link quite naturally to the properties of lipids, because as we remember, the properties is what something does, and the culinary uses is what it does in a food. As you can see, there are a number of culinary uses on this slide for fats and oils: flavor, frying, emulsions, aeration, shortening, and anti-staining. I would recommend you know 3 of these culinary uses. The ones that I think are sometimes easiest to remember are flavor, frying, and aeration.